This week on Right Now, I'm joined by Jamie Mitchell of Gays Against Groomers, a coalition of gays against the sexualisation, indoctrination and medicalisation of our children. Watch the whole interview and all our guests, Christian Markijani, Matt Gubber and Jamie Starkey, by clicking onto Ickonic.com and starting a free 7-day trial. Hello and welcome to Right Now. This week I was on the Isle of Wight visiting family. We took a trip out to a local pub for lunch, and it turns out the owner was a fella a year or two younger than me that I used to gig with back in the day. Now I've not seen him for a couple of years, and when he came over I confess I didn't recognise him. His red hair and beard had become grey. "This is what stress does to you," he said. His business had managed to successfully navigate the pandemic by refusing to subscribe to the cult of the branch Covidians, instead opting for the sensible approach of allowing people to assess their own risks, or the absence of. Because even on the Isle of Woke, locals would rather not eat their pie and mash off of communist China. And then came the second move on the chessboard. Now, according to the Office for National Statistics, 2.8 million small businesses in the UK had been killed up to December 2021. That's not nearly enough for a great reset. And so came the manufactured energy price increases. My friend tells me that his monthly energy bills have gone from £600 a month to £2,600 a month. He can't survive this, and he's resigned to having to close down. See, this isn't about money. I know many people think it is, but it's way, way deeper than that. The energy company's taking £600 a month for 10 years, £72,000. Instead, for a quick gain of £7,800, they'll have him shut his doors and they won't then be getting a penny more. That's not good business sense. Even the most vicious capitalist knows that you regularly fleece a sheep, but you can only skin it once. Unless the idea has always been to skin the sheep. And then when it lay bleeding in the cold, you offer it a brand new woolly jacket with universal basic income in one pocket and the compliance conditions required to get it in the other. Our final guest tonight is Jamie Mitchell, the founder of Gays Against Groomers, a coalition of gays against the sexualisation, indoctrination and medicalisation of children. Who could possibly disagree with being opposed to those three things? Well, you'd be surprised. Jamie, thanks for joining us. What was it that made you go, do you know what, I need to start an organisation because this is getting out of hand?
Well, thanks for having me. I and everybody else have been seeing this onslaught of, attacks on children from within the LGBTQ plus community. There's a whole lot of letters I can't even keep up. I know that the majority of gay people and a lot of trans people too, probably the majority, are against it. And we were getting lumped in with all of it. People are associating us with them. So not only is it really bad for us, but I knew that our voices from within the community would be the most effective at stopping it, because that didn't really exist. And, there's straight people, parents, just everyone is fighting this, but they're easily dismissed as bigoted and hateful and all the phobics, right? So they're going to have a harder time doing that with us. They're trying, but I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Some of them are calling us, Media Matters has written about us a few times, and they call us an anti-LGBTQ hate group, which is a little shocking. I mean, we are LGBT. There's some trans people working with us. But yeah, that's why I started it. And I never expected it to blow up like it did. But I think the fact that it has, I mean, we're about to reach 100,000 followers on Instagram, like in a few minutes. And
that's amazing.
And yeah, we just launched in June. So it's not even 3 months old yet. So
wow. That was one of the things I was going to ask you actually was it the fact that, because I don't like the term, LGBTQ community, as if everyone is exactly the same. It's one of those things, isn't it? But, everyone uses that term. But I do see the odd comment here and there against some of this stuff, and they do kind of lump in everyone, and I can understand then why that would be frustrating for you and would be a reason, for you to want to do this.
It really is. I mean, there's radicals within our community that make, their sexuality or their gender their entire identity. But us, there's millions of us within the community that, I view that me being a lesbian is like, okay, and I have brown eyes. Like, it's just it's one part of me. It's not who I am entirely. Like, and a lot of us feel that way. And yeah, the gay community is not a monolith. All these people that are trying to get us taken offline, like, we're allowed to have a different opinion, and nobody should be against us. I mean, this is like the most uniting cause possible to protect children. But the people that are doing this within our community, I truly feel are a very small minority within our group. But they're so loud because they're backed by even the White House now. I mean, they're backed by woke corporations, woke media, Board of Education, the medical industry now, and the White House. And so, we have an uphill battle, but the majority of the population agrees with us. I mean, it's a no-brainer, really. Like, we don't care what you do as an adult. Just leave kids out of it. I mean, this is common sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I saw that you got banned off of Twitter for, I don't know how long was it, not very long, thankfully. But when you got banned for that short period of time, I was seeing some of the kind of tweets that, and I know Twitter's not real life, but some of the people that were kind of saying, oh, celebrating it. And I was thinking, you've got an organisation against the grooming of kids, and you're celebrating the censorship of that group. Like, explain this to me like I'm 5, how that doesn't make you the bad guy in this situation.
Right. It's really interesting. I mean, I've never seen so many groomers openly out themselves before. I mean, coming out against us says a lot more about you, I would think. And yeah, I mean, there's no reason to be against us except only if you're a groomer, only if you're a pedophile. Like, yes, we pose a very great threat to you. Um, and I think that these people that are coming out against us, there's some radical trans activists that are doing everything they can to silence us because they know that we're going to be effective. I mean, we already have been. We're so new, and we've amassed such a following that they know we're a real threat to their plans, and they're scared, and they should be. But it's truly, I mean, it's been eye opening to see how many are actually trying to silence us.
Yeah,
Um,
that did
you know
shock
what?
me yesterday. It was like going into the Twilight Zone, honestly, reading some of the
Yeah.
messages, like some of the posts.
Our mission is twofold. First and foremost, it's to protect kids, but it's also to save our community. In the past few years, acceptance of LGBT people has declined drastically, and it's because well, before even what was happening to kids, like, it was just shoved down everyone's throats. Pride stuff everywhere, and now with the push on kids to sexualize, indoctrinate, and butcher them. Yeah, people are obviously going to turn on the gay community as a whole. So I'm trying to, like, help us out as well, to reclaim our good standing in society, because we fought really long and really hard to achieve our rights and our place in society to be seen just as everyone else. And in a few short months, it feels like these radicals and activists are wiping all of that out. So I really encourage our detractors to think twice and unite with us. We're not a partisan coalition. This isn't a left versus right issue. This is just good versus evil at this point. And I wish they would see that we're trying to, like, save ourselves too.
Absolutely.
By
Do you feel like, because you mentioned earlier about how it is something that kind of unites most people, I think, the child issue is huge, because you can have every single area of every single community. You can have a big, massive guy on a building site, and then, a woman who works in a library, but they've got kids, so they're on the same page, on that. So it kind of transcends, class and income bracket and all that sort of stuff. So why do you think it's being pushed so much by the establishment? Because it is like you've said earlier, most people are against it.
Right. I think that, back when we were fighting to get gay marriage legalized, there were people that were saying that the slippery slope is going to happen where, what's next? pedophiles being accepted and lumped in with us. And at the time, I thought those people were absolutely crazy. I was like, no, we literally just want to have equal rights. Um, but now a few years later, and we're practically at the bottom of the slope. I fear it's going to get a little bit lower. But I think that the end game has always been for these people to normalize the sexualization of children, to make it okay, for them to be able to prey on children and abuse them a bit unabated, because that's where this is all going. You're normalizing children's sexuality, and being sexual beings. I mean, you see some of the books in libraries and being in schools for 9, 10, 11, 12 year olds, and they're full on pornographic illustrations. And that's it. The same goes for like transgender kids, which a trans kid doesn't exist. It's the parents that are typically doing it. It's like a vegan cat, who's making the decisions. But the same with gender. If a child can consent to puberty blockers and can, make their own mind up about changing their gender, they can pretty much consent to anything, right? Like it's a very short line to draw. And I also think that there's a strong push from big pharma. I think that needs to be talked about a lot more. It's basically been common practice now within the medical community and industry to say that gender affirming care is life saving, to instantly pump them full of these toxic poisons, like puberty blockers and hormones at a young age, and even butcher them with sex reassignment surgery. So these kids are going to become uh, patients for life. Really, they're going to be dependent on the medical industry their whole lives. So I think that that's a really big part of it too.
I agree. I agree. And also, what's funny to me as a fan of like football, or obviously or soccer as you call it over in the States, is I remember playing football with tomboys. Like my sister was kind of a bit of a tomboy, and I was, to be fair, like I used to wear eyeliner and nail varnish. I had long blonde hair, believe it or not, as a teenager, and I think that was just totally normal. Like he's quite a feminine boy, she's a tomboy as a girl. Whereas now, someone at school or whatever would have, are you sure that you've not thought that maybe you're, and kind of almost tried to push us into something.
That's exactly right. And I'm so glad you brought that up. One of our campaigns is actually called Save the Tomboys, because I was a tomboy growing up. I'm still a tomboy. Like I wear men's clothes sometimes, and that's totally fine. And all of these, young tomboys and feminine boys are being erased. They're being told that they're probably the other gender. That are you really a girl? Are you really a little boy? I don't know. This idea is being planted in their heads, and yeah, it's devastating because a lot of these young boys and girls grow up to be gay, and they're really erasing us. And it's horrifying because all of us feel this way. That if we were raised right now, we would have absolutely been transitioned. If our parents were a little bought into this cult a little bit, or a lot, we would have been transitioned. And I have never had the thought that I wanted to be a boy. I'm totally content and very proud and happy to be a tomboy, and I love being a woman. So it's incredibly dangerous what's going on, and it's devastating.
Absolutely. We had Lawrence Fox actually on the show a few weeks ago, and he was talking about some stuff he'd found out where he was getting letters home from his kid's school. And he was saying that in Wales, here in the UK, they were teaching masturbation to kids as young as 4. Now, I've got a 4-year-old daughter. She don't need to know about that. Like, that's just insane. So with that in mind, that this stuff is happening, how has Gays Against Groomers been received? Like, I mean, obviously, you've got your gobby ones on Twitter and all that sort of stuff, but as a whole, most people are totally behind you, I assume.
Oh, 100%. The response has been overwhelmingly positive. I'd say like 98% positive. And we get messages from people in the gay community who have been horrified at what's going on. And they are so glad that we exist. They say, I finally feel like I have a community again, because gay people are ashamed to like even be gay now because what we see happening being done in our name. We've had messages from, the staunchest conservative Christians saying, we love you guys. Thank you so much for joining this fight. and a lot of straight people as well that are just they're saying that they have no problem with gay people, and they don't even have a problem with trans adults. You know, it's like they say that they have family members or friends that are gay and they love them dearly, but seeing what's going on is just crossing a line. I mean, anybody with a few brain cells can understand that this is seriously crossing a line. This is not okay. And yeah, I mean, it's there's really no reason to do anything but unite with us and support us in this fight.
Exactly, and I always thought this about this whole kind of drag queen story hour thing, which seemed to come out of America, didn't go down particularly well. The people didn't like it, yet they still exported it then to the rest of the world. And it's here in the UK now. There's lots and lots of protests across the UK at the minute where people are actually, storming into libraries to try and stop these things. And I'm thinking, see, if I was a trans person, and I wanted to engage with the community, and I wanted to engage with young people, and my sole mission was just acceptance, of actually, we are just like you, dressing up as a drag queen, it would not be my way of going about it. It just seems completely odd to sexualize everything with kids, because you're always going to get a backlash from that.
Yeah, it blows our mind too. I mean, we actually have a few drag queens that are part of our coalition that speak out really, really loudly against what these drag queens are doing. Um, I don't know why they are trying to have this label attached to them unless they actually are pedophiles and are trying to get this normalized. You know, I think that the world has a much larger pedophilia problem than any of us good people can truly wrap our minds around. And I think that they see our what's being done with our community, and they're using us as a shield to kind of push that line further and further. They've moved the Overton window so far that all of us are left trying to crawl back from it and bring it back to, like, an appropriate place. But yeah, it's wild to watch. And if gay rights ever do get rolled back, it's going to be because of people like this. Like I said, the acceptance of LGBT people has been declining drastically in the past few years, and it's obviously only because of this.
Yeah.
Um, and the backlash against our community is going to be very strong. And that's why I also, that's one of the main reasons I started this, to try and reverse the slope and draw a big red line between us and say, no, the majority of us are against this just as much as you, if not more, because we're being associated with it.
This is why what you're doing is so important. And you must have such thick skin as well to take the amount of abuse that you get from these absolute minority, of course. But as you said earlier, they do shout pretty loud, and they do have the backing of Silicon Valley and big business and all that kind of stuff. Do you see your organization, going beyond borders? And so you would have people over here, say, for instance, in Britain, you would have people in, France, wherever, all over the world that are, joining your organization?
Yeah, 100%. We already have a UK chapter that has popped up. We're working on getting all the chapters, set up. It's right now. It's really just me working on things behind the scenes, and like I said, our enormous growth in such a short time is making it difficult to juggle everything. But we, within the first few days that we launched, we had people reaching out from all over the world asking if there's a chapter by them, if they can start it. We have Australia, Ireland, UK, France, Spain,
That's
places in
great.
South America. Yeah, it's going to be a global movement. It's well on its way. And everybody sees the need for it. And we have overwhelming support from not just gay people, but straight people.
That's
Everybody
amazing.
in the world wants to stop this, except for those radicals who, they are pedophiles. They have to be pedophiles. There's no explanation. There's no other possible reason that they would want this to happen to children. I mean, when we got suspended from Twitter, we've been suspended now 3 times in less than 3 months. But they say that it's due to hateful conduct. And I obviously disagree. I believe it's actually hateful conduct to medicalize and sexualize children. I mean, you really must hate them if you want to set them up for a lifetime of trauma and medical complications.
Yeah.
So
I can't think of
everything is
anything more hateful than the abuse of children that can't fight back for themselves. That's literally, for me, that is the top.
right. There's nothing more hateful. There's nothing more grotesque. And we are going to put an end to it, period.
Fantastic. So where can people around the world that you know maybe want to start a chapter or join a chapter, see if there's one near them, where can they go to find that?
Yeah, currently we are going to have individual chapters up on our website soon where you can click on the link and you will be connected to the chapter leader and get involved. Right now we don't have that up, but we do have a volunteer section on our site. If you go to gazeagainstgroomers.com, there's all different kinds of ways you can volunteer with us. We're still working on getting it all organized. We need a little bit of time, but go to our website, gazeagainstgroomers.com. You can find everywhere. You can follow us. There's ways to support our organization. We are completely self-funded, and we have brand new merch that is pretty awesome. So yeah, you can find us there and get in touch with us as well through there.
That's great. Thank you for everything that you're doing. It's so important. I think most people at home probably realise how important it is. Some might not, obviously, but it's huge. So thank you so much for that, and thanks for joining us. It was great to have you on.
Thank you for having me. Nice talking with you.
Hello, I'm Jamie Icke, CEO and founder of Ickonic. People regularly ask me, why do we charge for our services? Well, the answer is simple. The ambition here is to build the biggest independent media platform in the world with the highest production standards. We've recently introduced a brand new $7.99 pricing plan to make Ickonic affordable for all. For just a couple of cups of coffee a month, you can access the world's premier media source. Take out a 7-day free trial today and come and see what Ickonic has to offer.